Welcome to today's deep dive. We are unpacking a really comprehensive case study today on Ericsson's corporate evolution.
Yeah, and it's a fascinating one. We're looking at a 150-year-old Swedish hardware manufacturer.
Exactly. Our mission is to chart how they strategically transformed into this modern software and services behemoth. It's incredibly ironic, to survive the future of telecom, Ericsson essentially had to dismantle the iconic hardware legacy that made them famous in the first place.
Right, because when you look at the telecom landscape, relying purely on cyclical hardware sales, it's just a losing game now. The sources outline how Ericsson faced massive pressure from tech shifts like the rollout of 5G, the transition to cloud-native networks, and specifically the rise of Open RAN architectures.
And Open RAN is a huge structural threat, right?
Oh, absolutely. It threatens their traditional business model because it allows operators to mix and match hardware from different vendors. That essentially destroys the legacy vendor lock-in that Ericsson relied on for decades.
And they had to navigate that threat while fighting off fierce global competition from Nokia and Huawei. Looking strictly at the data our sources provided on these geopolitical tensions, Western government bans on Huawei temporarily reduced competition for Ericsson in certain regions.
But the data also shows a steep cost to that kind of global fragmentation.
Right, the retaliatory moves. Following Sweden's decision to ban Huawei, Ericsson's market share in China just plummeted. It went from roughly 10% down to just 3%.
Yeah, and losing that much market share practically overnight meant they couldn't simply rely on selling towers to operators anymore. The case study shows they aggressively pivoted to enterprise customers in software.
Which is wild because software and services now make up 59% of their total revenue.
Exactly. And that shift was driven by massive strategic acquisitions aimed at coping with these technological shifts.
They deployed some serious capital to make that happen. I mean, they bought Cradlepoint for $1.1 billion to dominate the private wireless network space for businesses.
And then they followed that right up with the $6.2 billion acquisition of Vonage.
Right. And the strategy there wasn't just to own a cloud communications tool. It was to transform Ericsson into a true platform company, one capable of exposing 5G network capabilities directly to software developers as APIs.
And rather than fighting the big tech giants for developer attention, Ericsson formed crucial external partnerships to accelerate this transition. So they are hosting their 5G core on Google Cloud. They're partnering with Microsoft to embed 5G management directly into Windows 11.
And placing AI-driven network optimization tools on Amazon Web Services. They essentially joined the hyperscalers instead of fighting them. But the most aggressive move in the notes isn't a hyperscaler partnership or an acquisition. It's a joint venture called Aduna.
Aduna is brilliant. Ericsson partnered with 12 major global telecom operators to build a universal marketplace for network APIs.
By uniting these operators, they are effectively turning raw telecom plumbing into universally monetizable code.
Exactly. So developers can now build applications that interface directly with the network across different carriers, all through one centralized platform.
But transforming from a legacy hardware vendor to an API platform and orchestrator of a digital ecosystem is a massive operational undertaking. For you listening, what's the ultimate so what here regarding their stability?
For you, looking at their long-term viability, this strategy fundamentally changes their relationship with clients. By exposing raw network functions as code and shifting to managed services, they aren't just smoothing out cyclical hardware revenue.
They're making themselves indispensable.
They are embedding themselves so deeply into enterprise operations that ripping Ericsson out becomes practically impossible for a client. The level of customer stickiness they achieve by becoming the software layer that runs a network is vastly superior to simply supplying the metal towers.
So Ericsson is no longer just selling physical infrastructure. They're orchestrating an entire digital ecosystem.
Which leaves you with a final thought to explore on your own. As physical telecom networks increasingly become programmable, cloud-based APIs, will the tech companies of the future even need to own physical infrastructure at all, or will global connectivity just become pure lines of code?
Thank you for listening to today's episode of our Digital Servitization Exchange podcast. We hope the insights sparked new ideas, challenged assumptions, and brought clarity to the evolving world of service and digital-driven business models. This podcast is grounded in extensive research across various fields, drawing on years of academic work, case studies, and cutting-edge publications. It also shaped by hands-on experience of our collaboration partners, Those real-world challenges and successes help us to translate theory into practice. If you enjoyed the episode, consider following the podcast and sharing it with colleagues who are navigating the civilization journey. Your support helps us continuing bridging high-quality research-based and practice-proven perspectives straight to your ears. Thank you for tuning in and see you in the next episode.